legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting greedy.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Small Town Underground with a special live stream Wednesday afternoon. We'll not be doing a live stream tonight as my wife's birthday is this evening, and we just celebrated my oldest daughter's birthday last night. So we're going to take the evening off, and we'll be with them this evening. So I have a really special guest that I'm bringing up right now. Very super excited to be bringing up Mr. Steve Stern. He has agreed to come on with me for a little bit, so we'll give you about a half hour today, folks. And as always, like, share, subscribe, check this out. Steve, I've been looking up a lot of Steve's content and what he's been doing, and he was pretty much a guest fill-in host for Steve Bannon's War Room while Mr. Bannon was in prison. And this guy, Steve, is all over the place. He is doing some wild and wonderful things. A true patriot down in Florida who's connecting all kinds of people. So I just appreciate this opportunity to talk with you, Steve. How are you, sir?
I'm doing a terrific job, Roy. Thanks for having me on. We're going to talk about two important things today for your people.
Yes.
The main thing is make sure that everybody's listening or seeing gets a paper and pencil and copies down my email address, because I'm going to give you a lot of information and you're going to want to take it down.
Nice.
So we'll give you a couple of seconds to do that. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about precinct strategy and election integrity.
Yes.
Both of those are coordinated together, and we're going to show you how all that has worked and how everything is connected with the election. So the first thing we're going to talk about is precinct strategy. That's how I got in, worked on all the stuff I'm doing. And that book you see is from Dan Schultz. Dan Schultz invented www.precinctstrategy.com.
Okay.
And why is that important? He and Steve Bannon worked on this for 14 years. And that is basically the Republican Party, but they're showing you how to get involved. So if you go to Precinct Strategy, you can become a committee man and committee woman. And in the United States, there's 400,000 slots for Democrats. There's 400,000 slots for Republicans. Of course, I'm a Republican because you can see my red, white, and blue, and you can see my flag shirt. And I'm 83. I've been in business 70 years. So I'm going to put up a little sign here that you can see. And that shows you the flagshirt.com. It shows you my email address. It shows you the phone. So this flag shirt is huge. It's the largest in the world. We have the largest website in the world. And what makes it the largest is that we have so many different items that you can pick from socks to shoes to shirts, that we do a terrific job. And a lot of times I never even talk about it on the programs, but I gave most of the business to my son so we could do all this for the country. And so my son yells at me for not talking about flag shirt more often. But anyway, we'll get back to that. So now we got the precinct strategy. In the precinct strategy, I am the vice chair of the Broward Republican Executive. You can see my card. And the funny thing is, I went to lunch here before I came on the show, and I was wearing my hat and my shirt, and somebody came up to me and they said, "You must be a Republican and you must have voted for Trump." I said, "Yeah."
Okay, how can you tell?
Wow, because I'm a Republican also. Well, I gave him one of my cards and they said, "You could become a member of the Republican Party here in Broward County." And he said, "Well, what do I have to do?" Well, you attend meetings, you vote, and the most important thing is you get candidates elected. And we got about 17 to 27 more candidates, Republicans elected this time than ever, because our chairman, Chris Marino, I worked with him and we did precinct strategy together. And when he became the chairman, he asked me if I would do the vice chair. And I really wouldn't want to do the vice chair because I'm doing this in the country. And even though I'm a member there and I do a lot of work, it takes a lot of effort. I ran 2 fundraisers, which we could talk about also. So you get candidates elected, you sign up voters, you canvass neighborhoods, you poll watch and poll work, and you make phone calls. So that's just some of the things you do. Now, you don't have to do everything. You do what you like to do. Now, unfortunately, there's 400,000 slots in the United States and 200,000 people involved. Well, when I started 4 years ago, I got on Steve Bannon's show about 4 years ago because I called Dan up when I saw him on there. And I said, "You know, we got a lot of success stories here in Broward County." And he said to me, "Well, what were they?" And I told him, and he said, "Well, let me talk to Bannon and his producer and see if they can get you on." Well, they did. And I got on the first time. You know as well as I, the first time you maybe had your show, you were a little nervous. You know what I mean? Your connection didn't go right, and who knows what can happen. Well, I never was on a show before, even though I did public speaking. But now you're talking in front of 1 million people, and you don't want yourself to do anything wrong. So I got up about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm jotting notes down, and I figured I'd get up for about 20 minutes because I was sleeping and I was thinking in my head, what the heck am I going to say? So I wrote all this stuff down and I started to go back to sleep. I never fell back asleep. And I was supposed to get on at 10:15 and they used Skype. And so they Skyped me at 10:15 and I'm sitting here like I'm sitting with you and I hear all the background stuff and it's now 10:30 and I'm hearing Steve talking in the background and the producer texts me and says, "You'll be on now at 11 o'clock. So I'm sitting here from 10:15 to 11. I'm sweating because, you want to, you're in front of it and you hear what these other people say. Now, look, I'm just a little guy from Broward County and I hear all these superstars, on the show. And I said, "Whoa, I don't want to do anything bad." So anyway, make a long story short, they didn't get me on till 11:46. That's the last guy in the show pretty much. And so I finally got on and I had no idea what I was going to say at that point because I forgot everything already what I was going to say. Right. Anyway, I did a good job. And they sent me the clip and I listened to it. And, I knew I could you could always do better. And so I said, well, if I get on again, I'll just make some more better notes and, know what I'm doing. So anyway, the producer about 3 weeks later said, "Hey, we'd like to have you back on again." And I've been on there probably 150 times. A lot of stuff has gone on. Oh, and yes. A lot of people say, "Well, how do you get on and what do you do?" And we'll talk about some of that stuff during the thing because Steve Bannon is our, head of our operations here for everybody. And I want to tell you what we did for him. And any of your people that are listening can do this. So when he went to jail, his family, because we're in the shirt business, had me do a shirt. And we did a shirt for him, which you can get. Stand with Bannon. And go to standwithbannon.com and you can get a shirt. Now, why is that so important? I don't promote anybody's shirt but my own, but Steve Bannon is the head guy for the MAGA movement, and we all know this.
That's right.
And he spends 4 hours a day on TV. The guy gets up at 4:30, and why I'm very successful is because about 2 months after I was on, I texted him at 4:30 in the morning because I had gotten up, I had nothing to do, so I figured I know he's probably up. So he went back to me, and I told him what we were doing. He said he usually answers in a one-word thing. He never answers you in a sentence. He'll say terrific. He'll say great. And I got lots of these on there, and he's always helped me. You know what I mean? Because he sees the guy who's a little bit older, works as hard as we do, and one of the things that he helped me with, he was very close to Liz Harrington. So Liz Harrington, Dan Schultz, Steve Bannon, and myself got together in a conversation, and we asked Liz if she would ask President Trump to endorse precinct strategy. So he did that. And that was an important thing in precinct strategy. We got more members. And you see in the background, there's two pictures here. The one on the left is American Freedom Tour, where I went to speak to President Trump. And what happened there was we spent about 6 hours during the day with a group of people of 25 people, of which I was lucky enough to be one of them because one of my candidates who was running for office was there. And they invited me to come in. And the person who was promoting this, because I got them a lot of people to come, they had me in there. And what I did was for 2 hours prior to me getting involved in this whole thing that I'll tell you about, we had 20 people signing up people, because as the people came in, we blocked them. And we made sure that they knew that this was the Republican Party. So we signed up hundreds of people for different people all over the Republican Party. And we tell people, if you're having an event, to do this. So there was 18,000 people there at this event. President Trump was going to speak. And so we started off in the morning where we were seeing, after we had this meeting, we went into meetings with Dan Bongino and many, many other people. So it was very interesting because I didn't know who we were going to meet with. But we sat and had conferences with a lot of people. Well, think about this. I was there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and now at 4 o'clock, I'm beat. And they said, okay, we're going to go see President Trump now. So we sat down in the arena for about 20 minutes, which thank God I got my second win. They brought us into a small room that had no air conditioning. So we were like kind of dying because you see, we had sport jackets on. And then we got to get a picture with President Trump after the Secret Service took everything away, pens, whatever you had. So when I went up to him, I said to him, do you know what precinct strategy was? He said, no, I did not. He said, but let's talk about it in the conference we're going to have after with the 25 people after we took the pictures. So I got about 4 minutes to talk about it. And as he was talking with me and asked me some questions, he said, Steve, if I knew about precinct strategy, I would have won the 2020 election.
Right.
And he said, I want you to give my card to my 3 assistants here. And that's how I got back up to Mar-a-Lago. Because even though the assistants didn't ever call me, I kept calling them and I kept calling people. And then finally, about 2 weeks before this particular picture, I had an appointment which was canceled. And that day that I was up there was very good because I was working with an organization, United West, Tom Trento, who's friends with Tom Homan. I've been up with Tom Homan numerous times in Mar-a-Lago, and we've done some great fundraisers for them. And then Tom Homan has always been a terrific guy. I got to tell you, of all the people that President Trump has put in his cabinet, I would say he's number one. He's worked for every president, all the way through Reagan. Wow. So this particular event also was with Michelle Terrace from Jexit, which is an anti-Semitic organization stopping, people from slandering, et cetera, et cetera. So we were there to present President Trump an award for everything he did for Israel. And we had a big video and everything. So I worked on that with them for about 2 months. So both of these things ran together. So it was terrific. So I was there in his office about 4:30, and we were going to have this meeting about 6 o'clock with him and dinner and everything else. So while I was there, the reason I went up to see him was because I wanted him to ask people at his rallies to get involved. So if I'm on your show and I ask people to get involved, I'm going to get 10 people, 20 people. But if he's there, he's going to get a lot of people. So he started talking about it. And one of the things he started talking about was Trump 47 and protectthevote.com. Now, protectthevote.com was one of the ways that we won this election. I'm going to tell you how. So I got a gold star from the Republican Party because, and of course, gold star doesn't mean anything. It just was a nice little gesture because I got them between 30 and 40,000 poll watchers and poll workers by being on about 30, 40 different shows and just keep showing the sign. Because again, if people say, okay, go to protectthevote.com, they say to themselves, what's protectthevote.com? So if you put that up there, Boom. Now, why did that make a difference? Because in 2020, we had 100,000 poll watchers and poll workers. In 2024, we had 200,000 plus poll watchers and poll workers.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
we stopped a lot of stuff that was going on. Now, also, what's the difference? Because President Trump asked me, what did I think about the 2024 election? He actually also endorsed 2 of my candidates 2 days before the election, which I thought was pretty good because, who am I? I'm just a guy off the street that's been in business 70 years and, has done a lot of work for the United States. And a nice thing happened today because, nobody sends you stuff. But here's a guy who was very nice, and it just came in today. He sent me a bunch of stuff for everything I do for the country. You could see this is a silver ring with Trump. And here's one with USA, which I think, is beautiful that somebody took. And the most important thing that he sent me today from my wife.
Oh, very nice. Look at that. 47.
47 on that.
I like it.
And the second thing is Trump Vance 2025.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
So I think that's very nice because, you work your butts off, and all the people around the country who do this, they do this for the love of the country.
That's right.
And that's so important. So then we started talking about, he asked me what I thought about the 2024 election. And I said, well, look, not a lot has changed from 2020. If anything, it's got worse because we have illegal aliens coming in and a lot of things are happening. So he said, well, I know you do a Zoom meeting on election integrity, on precinct strategy. He said, why don't you put the precinct strategy with the election integrity and let's get this thing rolling. Well, I took about 3 or 4 weeks, thought about it, and I said, this is a major task, and I didn't know the election integrity people. So I called a couple of my friends, and I made a list of 125 top election integrity people, and then I had to call them all. And I had to find out what they were doing and what the organizations are doing. So I got a lot of information in, and we started a Zoom meeting with 200, 250 people. And we got 5 election security people and 3 precinct strategy people. So we started doing this every 2 weeks, and we built up, number of people. Then this is going on for a while. About 6 months ago, a strange thing happened. Steve Bannon had me on his program in the morning of an election integrity meeting. And I did something different. Like I told you, I put this up all the time so people could see it. But people would tell me, hey, you put it up and we don't have enough time to get it, written because you pull it right down. So I put my email on the bottom of the screen, sstern1054@gmail.com. We got 1,000 people to sign up. Wow. So I said to myself, wow, that makes a big difference. So you learn something every day as an 83-year-old guy. Steve usually gives me 5 minutes. The producer says, hey, you got a few minutes because, they have big people on. Stern comes on just for, to get people involved, which is very important, but they don't think it's as important as, as what's happening in the Congress and the Senate.
Right.
And you see Steve, he's got lots of people on. So anyway, that day he did something a little different. He said, Steve, we're going to put your program on Getter and on the War Room and on Rumble Live. Well, I said, that's great. And of course, as an 83-year-old guy, if you don't learn something new every day, because God gives you so much time on this earth, you got to learn.
Right.
So we had 38,000 people on live that day. And I said to myself, wow, why didn't I think of that before? We got to think Steve Bannon to come up with the ideas, you know what I mean? But hey, we don't care who comes up with the idea as long as they come up with it.
That's
so
right.
now I started back again. I called Ann Vandersteel, my friend, and said, hey, we need some podcasters. She gave me a list. Clay Clark, got a list from him. Raj Diajan, who hosts the program with me, gave me a bunch of guys. Matt Meck gave me some people. Melissa Redpill, who's our #1 podcaster, she gave me a bunch of them. So then now we had a buildup of podcasters, but of course you got to call them. You got to ask them to help you. They got to understand what you're doing. It takes time to, do this. And I'm a great phone guy because, to be honest with you, I'm going to tell you how I made it. One day I was I was 18 years old. I had worked with my father. I started when I was 12, and I was in Dallas at a men's show. And this guy had some shirts up, and I'm sitting there looking at him, and he says, son, what are you looking at? I said, well, I was just looking at those shirts. He said, well, you're a pretty smart guy. I said, why? He said, I'm going to tell you who I am. He came around his table, and he came out, and he says, Steve, I own half of Laguna Beach. He says, how did I do that? I sold pennies, a lot of merchandise for a lot of years, but I want to retire. And they put me on a retainer, and I was doing this as consulting because I wanted to get out of the business. So if you buy these shirts at Penny's and you change the labels and you put them at one of your shows, I guarantee you, you're going to be a millionaire.
Right.
Well, I did that. And two guys from J.C. Penney in Pompano, Florida came to me and said, hey, that's just what we're looking for. He says, let me take you down to the Miami buying office. You've got a vendor number. Well, this was a shirt called Banded Bottom. And today, from all the way back then.
Steve, you keep going. I'll be right back. Hang on. You just keep on going.
So we got that shirt, and that became an important thing in our company. And we did $14 million a year for 44 years with J.C. Penney. So I gave most of the business to my son, and I'm working on the all the stuff with election integrity. So now we got all our podcasters, and last week we had 5 million views on our podcast. You know what 5 million views is huge. We had over 100 podcasters. We were doing this stream live on Patriot.tv and many other areas. And we always have the top people on. So this week, you can come on. There's a bunch of different ways to come on. The first thing is you can go to my email, stern1054@gmail.com.
Right.
I'll give you a link. You can go to sternamericannews.com. You can sign up there. You can go to Stern American. Very easy. sternamerican.com. And if you want to see all the ones we had, go to Stern American Rumble, and you will see all the back issues of that.
Yes.
And that's so important because this is how we won the election. I'm going to tell you who's coming on Monday. And we won the election because as the people came on, and the hundreds and the thousands that came on, they were asking questions. They were learning from all the people that came on. So who's coming on this Monday? We're going to have some superstars on.
Nice.
First person we're going to have on is Steve Gruber. He's on Real America Voice.
Wow.
He's in Michigan. And I've been on the show numerous times. He's going to talk to you about what's happening in Michigan because we had a election there where the guy should have won the senator, but evening, all of a sudden, they found 30,000 ballots.
The spike up,
However, this guy is a rhino, and therefore he's probably not going to fight it because he's probably a Democrat in a Republican uniform. So it's not going to make a difference. Then we're going to have John Fredericks. John Fredericks and I work.
Okay.
Real Voice also. He has a radio show starting at 6 o'clock. TV show starts at 7 to 8, so he gets me up early, and then he goes back on the radio till 10.
Right.
And he and I work together on getting people to vote early because we had a lot of Republicans said, no, don't vote early because the machines are going to screw you up. So Turning Point, Charlie Kirk, myself, John Fredericks, many people started talking about voting early, and that really helped the election. So many of these things have happened that have helped win the election.
Right.
Then we're going to have Michelle Swinick on. So you want to see her and you want to get her, go to her website.
Wow.
www.savemyfreedom.us. Why is that important? Because Michelle and I have worked together for 4 years. She was judge in Arizona and on the 2020 election, saw how they cheated and spent 2 years showing you all the evidence, which is right on her website, on how they cheated and her lawsuits that are coming up because Maricopa did the same thing this time. They didn't get the votes for 10, 15 days. And then we're going to have Jody Cox on. Jody Cox, every time we have a Zoom meeting from now on, over the last 4 or 5, we have a podcaster come on because they're helping me and I want to help them and I want to get them out. And Jody did my first show and I did her first show. So she's very dear to me and she's very close to General Flynn. General Flynn has really helped her out quite a bit. So she'll tell you a lot of information about everything that's going on. Then we're going to have Dave Brett on. He's the vice president of Liberty University. He's going to tell you what they're doing there. We're going to have our famous Mike Lindell on. He's going to be talking about all his new stuff coming up, where he saved the election, because he did a lot of stuff with the machines. Then we're going to have Hannah Faulkner. Why I like her, she's 17 years old. She's got a show on Patriot.tv, and she has podcasts, and she is really active. She spoke at Clay Clark's event numerous times. So we need young people to stimulate the other young people. Then we're going to have Colonel John Mills on. Colonel John Mills was in Taiwan during the election. He's been all over the place. He's in Virginia. He's going to tell you what he's doing in Virginia to try to save Virginia, because Virginia actually had a lot of problems and we lost a lot of votes in Virginia. And even though President Trump won, we lost down ballot votes ballots, which we
That's
should have
right.
done. We should have won it. Then we're going to have Greg Stenstrom. Greg Stenstrom, he has a lawsuit at the Supreme Court. He works in Pennsylvania. He's showing how the election fraud for the last since 2020 till now, 389 pages of fraud, and all the backup. And he wants the Justice Department to start going after all those people, because really, if they go after those people, then they're going to get him. Then we're going to have Linda Sinkowitz. She's my favorite person. I have her on all the time because she will give you 500 people that voted twice in your county. Think about that. If you have, can you believe that there's 500 people in almost every county in the United States that have voted twice at one time or are registered twice, either or? So why aren't anybody doing anything about that?
Right.
Then we're going to have Cleta Mitchell on. She has a Zoom meeting every Friday. She has the top people on, and she gives me those people. And about a year ago, I found a guy, which I'm actually going to go back to San Diego and have lunch with again because I appreciate everything he's done. Dr. Robert Epstein. Dr. Robert Epstein is a Democrat that has worked on fair elections. And he, in 2020, shows you how 2 to 5 million votes were changed by Google to Biden over Trump.
Wow.
And this time he has 11,000 people working, and he stopped a lot of that going on. So that's another reason. Now, you add all these reasons together and you find out how you win an election by a landslide. Because if you don't do these kind of things, then it's not going to happen.
Gotta get involved.
During our last Zoom, we got streaming all the way to Australia, the Philippines, Canada, London, Japan, Hong Kong, Russia, Germany, Peru, and London. And I just did a podcast in London yesterday, and we plan to do them all over Europe because they're having the same problems that we have.
Right.
So it's very important. Another thing that was important that helped us, my friend, votifynow.org. I want everybody to get that app, because what happened was during the election, people would be putting in the app all the ways that they were stealing the election or all the things happening. I don't want to go over all of them, but I'm going to show you one thing that is very surprising. And I did a Zoom meeting here about an hour ago, and on a podcast, and she said it happened in her area, but I only knew it happened in Kentucky. So if you take a look at this ballot, you will see a little dot by Harris's name.
Yes.
So that dot, if you did not vote for a presidential candidate, that dot the computer picked up Harris as the candidate and put a vote in for her.
Right.
So they find lots and lots of ways to cheat in this election. Another thing that we get the news out through yournews.com. I don't know if you know Sam Anthony, but Sam works with us. He'll put your podcast on there live. This is going to replace all the newspapers. You know how many newspapers are going out of business?
That's right.
You go online with all the news, but this is something important. He will get the news. You can put an article up there in your zip code.
Oh, wow.
So if you go to your zip code, you can find out what's happening in every zip code. So like whatever your zip code is in Georgia, you could put it in there and you can find information out. So these are some of the important things that we put out, and it's very important. Now, a lot of people say
that Votify Now, I have that on my phone. I use it, so that's pretty good.
There you go. So, people ask me why I do it. I was very lucky. This was a tremendous thing, and I don't know how this I know how it happened, but here's a wonderful letter I got from President Trump, my 81st birthday.
Nice.
And as we close this out today, I want to read this to you because I think this is unbelievable. Now, I think this happened through Liz Harrington. She sent President Trump a clip of what I was doing. And it says, "Dear Steve, we join your family and friends in wishing you a happy 81st birthday. Our nation is strong because of hardworking patriots like you who believe in and defend the great American ideals of faith, family, community, and country first. Your commitment to excellence and dedication to exemplifying the American dream through ingenuity, hard work, and principled leadership is the foundation of your tremendous success and demonstrates the proud spirit of family-owned and operated business. As you celebrate this special day, we hope your heart is filled with joy, knowing you have experienced our country's greatest blessings, freedoms, and the affection of loved ones. Melania and I send our very best wishes for your continued health, happiness, and success. Happy birthday, and may God bless you and your family, Donald Trump." So those are some of the things that make you, really stimulate you and help you because, look, at 83, I should be on the golf course. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So in a given day, I'm probably working about 16 hours a day. And, it's fun, because if it wasn't fun, then, and getting people to help win an election, and you have a little part. Now, I can't say that I did millions of things, but my little part and all the people that work with me helped win this election.
That's right.
And you know how the polls kept saying, oh, it's very close to the landslide. So polls, nobody knows what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we know that all the people worked, and we want to thank all the people that came out. They don't get a chance to come on TV or podcast or say their thing. So a couple of people I want to tell you about. Tina Celine in California. She got me. She called me one time from watching me with Bannon. She said, can you help turn California red? I said, I'm good, but not that good. But we built this up to thousands of people helping.
We did. California went pretty red this year.
Yep, much worse. Paul Bodine in Nevada. He has worked with me. I met him when I was at the Clay Clark event, and then I had flown out to San Diego. Alan Myers in Rhode Island, who turned all the town committees from administrative to MAGA, and rhinos to MAGA. David Penn in Minnesota, who gave up a lot of his business, a big tire company, to help people run for office and also help the Republican Party. Jeff Davis and his wife, Olga, they put out a newsletter every day. It's called myscgop.com, mysouthcarolinagop.com. Fantastic. Elizabeth Nader, who works with Spadia, who's going to be running for the governorship in New Jersey. She had me up there speak at Seat at the Table a couple of years ago. We learned from a lot of people up there.
Okay.
Sue O'Sullivan, Chainsaw Sue in Massachusetts, started 40 different town committees in Massachusetts. So in the Republican Party, each state has different areas. We have executive committees, town committees, central committees, and some places don't even have committees. And it's in Wisconsin, which we were really worried about the election because, you have to get people. So we have so many organizations working. I want to thank everybody. I mean, I'm their spokesman because they don't get a chance to speak, but I want to thank them 100% because very few people thank you. I was fortunate to get a lot of emails, a lot of stuff from Wayne Root, from Susie Wiles, who was the head of the Trump campaign. She sent me thanks for doing everything you're doing, and on and on and on. General Flynn, which is very nice because you do this. We don't do this for a penny. Everything we do is for free. And, I know you do your show and people do their shows. They don't make a penny. Sometimes they pay for this to do, but they believe in what we're doing. So
that's right.
In the last couple of minutes that we got, if you have a couple of questions, please ask because, I talk a lot and don't give you a chance to ask any questions.
Oh, yeah. I just appreciate it. Wow. What a lot of accomplishments that you've done. And I really like that, a lot of us, you kind of coined that phrase. Look, we're all out here doing this. If you ever told me that I'd be doing a podcast with you or anybody else 5 years ago, I'd have told you were crazy. We're out here just trying to spread the word, trying to find truth, transparency, accountability. And up in Georgia, we have so many good grassroots organizations that have really fought to secure elections and clean up the elections because we were kind of a ground zero here in Georgia, and so many good people that fought hard to get a fair election. But real quick, there's only really one question that I want to pose to you because I know our time's limited, but how do you see the landscape going into 2025, right? Do you think that we're just give me your overall bird's eye view. How do you see it?
First thing I want to thank you. You're in Georgia, Sally Grubbs and Marcy McCarthy. Both of those people have done a wonderful job and communicate with me all the time. What's going on in 2025 will determine whether the people get off their butts. And after a great win, a lot of times when you have a great win, you go to sleep.
That's
because,
right.
President Trump's going to do everything for you now. You don't have to do anything. We are getting people together and saying, hey, we got to work twice as hard because the Democrats saw they got wiped out. They're going to go to more extremes to try to win the House and, whoever comes up in the Senate. So if you don't think, look, people have already registered to run for the 2024 election. Forget the 2026 election. Nancy Pelosi already signed her thing to run. Mm-hmm. So people, as soon as this election's over, they start running for the next election. Now, everybody should go online and see who all the people who won office in congressmen in every state. If you go to Real Clear Politics, it's on there. And what I told somebody today was, look at those areas, because if you look, most of them are holes. The Republicans so far picked up +1. But if you look at them, there's about 4 seats that moved from one to the other, but most of them are holes in every county.
Right.
So we got to beat those holes. And, you know, where we're in trouble is California, because they have so many congressmen that if we could pick up seats in California, and I believe we lost a seat in California, so that's not good. But they're fighting in orange 2 of the seats that we won. So, and it's very difficult in California because you talk about massive cheating. There it is.
Right.
They send out ballots to everybody. People have said they sent 10 ballots to Democrats and 1 ballot to Republicans. So I would say go have a couple of beers, have a good meal, enjoy yourself, and then get back into your executive county committees, get back into your Moms for America, get back in every place, because I'll tell you a perfect example that I heard that tells you what can happen. So in Iowa, which is very red, I'm not sure if it was last year or the year before, they lost the entire school board for the first time in history. And the reason was, when they asked all the people in the Republican Party why they didn't come out to vote, they said, well, we win every time. We didn't think we had to go vote. So there's a perfect example. And never. Now, can you imagine losing every seat in the school board? That means that they're going to try to turn their schools into socialist,
That's right.
Democratic areas.
Propaganda.
And, you know, and you saw one of these idiots said, oh, Trump was down 3 points or something in Iowa, to a lot of BS.
Right.
So they're trying to take Iowa. And don't think any of our red states, they're not coming into these cities and trying to take it. Now, the good news, we're going to get rid of a lot of illegal aliens who try to vote. We're going to get rid of a lot of stuff that we found out. The thing is, we got to keep our Republican people with Trump. We can't let Trump go away from the election security, because once he's the president, doesn't run again. Well, remember, the person who becomes the person running
Right. We
goes
got to keep going.
and takes it over. So that's the story. So again, I'm running out of voice. Want to thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. We'll get all the links up. And like I said, this is going out 3 different places. I plan on being with you on Monday to help out, to get involved with it. But again, thank you for all the work you're doing, and to come on the show. It's an honor. And I look forward to working with you in the future.
Sure. And we'll send us a link from the show, and we'll put it out on our site and every place else.
Okay. Well, thank you, man. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Great seeing you.
All right, guys. You just heard it. That was amazing. And we got to talk to Steve Stern. And, I mean, it was just awesome. So I appreciate you with this special live stream. Steve's done a lot of stuff. He's heavily involved in several aspects of it. And he's absolutely right. We can't, we sit down for a minute, take a breath, but it's back to work we go, right? No longer business as usual. We got things to do. So I'm going to try out getting on with his stream on Monday, and we'll see how that goes. And just a blessing that he was able to come on, and we did this. So I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna sign off of here, and no live stream tonight. We're gonna just take it easy, and we'll get through the weekend. We might try to do something Saturday. I don't know. We'll just see how everything goes. But until then, I appreciate all of you guys out there, and I continue to like, share, subscribe, and let's grow this thing. So y'all have a good evening.
Legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting beauty.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia areas that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.